listeners, to Agile Disrupted, a podcast for the people in the trenches of Agile, where voices are heard and stories are shared. We got another special guest with us today and a really exciting episode. But first off, you have your host, Tabby, which is me. We have MC.
Hello, hello.
Hello, MC. And we got Josh Malden with us. How's it going, Josh?
Hello. Pretty good. Just hanging out on a Saturday, as one does.
Yes, hanging out on a Saturday and not having meetings.
Very true. Very true.
So, Josh, you live in the West Coast, yes?
Yeah, LA, right outside of Santa Monica.
Oh man. Okay, well, us southeast coasters will not say that we're envious, but we got our spicy chicken and we got our sweet tea. So whatever, West Coast.
You want to fight about some guacamole because that's you're bringing a knife to a gunfight.
I totally am. I just want to get you in the mood, Josh.
All right.
All right. So for today's episode, we are bringing back a reprised episode where we talked about the topic, the customer with Jake on the product side of that customer obsession. But today, we're going to talk about the UX side of that same obsession. So to set the stage, I'm going to give you all quite a radical and possibly dark synopsis, but a very compelling one, in my opinion. So get ready. So what if I told you that tomorrow, of what was planned to be a typical day, is going to be a day of radical and tragic change? A day that completely obliterates a lifestyle that you built an identity around. A day that you experience a horrible stroke. And suddenly you're navigating through a wheelchair while you undergo intense physical therapy to regain your sense of mobility again. And you would feel profoundly devastated. That's kind of like our worst nightmare. And you try to gather the courage to make big adjustments to accommodate a new lifestyle that is absolutely foreign to you. But you're not really sure if you're going to get through this. All you know is that you're going to try in the beginning. And the same set of stairs that you climbed a countless number of times now gives you feelings of helplessness and anger. But are you angry at the stairs, or are you angry at the problem? The stairs was intently designed for humans with mobility, and the elevator behind the stairs that you ignored for years in your daily commute now holds new meaning and a space for gratitude that you didn't have before. And isn't that the bittersweet taste of life, that we are at the mercy of a lottery system of events that could radically change our lifestyle and our identity in an instant? But as humans, are we physically and emotionally designed for that? Maybe. But are there humans out there whose very passion is dedicated around human-centered design? Yes, absolutely. It's called user experience, UX for some. And we are all humans surrounded by products that we specifically chose because they were specifically designed for a persona that we identify with. And a quote that Brian Collins shared recently by Rebecca Solnit that I actually heard this morning is that design is hope made visible. And people create products to serve the people, but is it designed in a way for them to use it? So Josh, I'm going to ask you that question. In your experience and stories that you have, are most products designed for the people that they serve in a way that they can actually use it?
So I've had the luxury of seeing it both ways. A lot of projects earlier in my career were very much geared towards someone had an idea who owned a business or owned this product and was like, hey, I want to do this thing because I want to do it. And when we, poked at it a little bit, we were sort of shut down, and it's like, nope, you go do that thing. And those products did not do very well. But lately, I've been working on products that are very much centered around the humans who use them, making sure that we're trying to reduce the annoyance and the pain of their daily lives. Find out, hey, what's really annoying to you about this product? And what do you find yourself avoiding doing? Let's talk about that and just poke and prod a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that question. What is currently annoying in this product that you're using? Because we don't talk about that. We talk about, hey, what do you love about it? What do you hate about it? These absolutes. And we want to talk about the intricacies of that product flow. And at what point in that product are you just clicking on something and you're waiting 2 seconds because it's taking forever to load? That's annoying. And I go through that all the time. What do you think, MC? You started laughing.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It kind of, and it's not, has nothing to do with product, but it goes back to the statement of people are going to remember the ways you rub them the wrong way, versus the inverse. So same thing with products, right? The products that I remember the most, right? Everybody knows this about me, and Josh, I know you really know this about me. I love pizza. I can eat pizza for every meal of the day. I can't tell you about the best pizzas I've ever had, but I can tell you about that one time, that one red and white and blue pizza company delivered pizza to my house, and the box was smashed into the pizza. And when I opened it, there was cheese stuck to the top, and I was so upset. And I've been having like delivered pizza in college. I went through all these scenarios of how they could have done better.
Yeah,
this was very deep.
He's getting re-traumatized right now.
But you remember those negatives, right? You remember the things, and for products, right? You remember the annoyances more than you do the things that they do so well for you, right? Like, I know for me, I think about, am I creating a 5-click journey through this product, or can I somehow do this in 2 clicks? You know what I mean? How can I, like, less a burden get someone to what they want? But man, I tell you, like you said, Tabby, if I got to click something, I'm waiting 3 or 4 seconds for it to load. I'm over here like, what's going on?
Well, what's going on? What do I do with my time? Like, do I just start doing a little dance? Like the Dialup dance, you know what I'm saying? Like when Dialup was very much a reality, like while the movie loaded, you just kind of got coffee and you did your own thing. So that brings me to the question of how often do customers recognize that there's a problem versus something that they've accepted or acknowledged as a process of doing things. This is something that I read recently in the Lean Startup, where sometimes the product owner or even the design strategist will be tag teaming on a problem, but it's almost biased. It's biased in a way that the stakeholder wants it and they acknowledge it's a problem, but the customer doesn't acknowledge it as a problem. Like, they just think that's not my priority. My priority is the fact that I have to wait 5 seconds for this page to load. Like, I don't really care about new features right now. This product is taking up a good bit of my day, where I could be doing other things. So what do you think, Josh?
Okay, yeah. So that reminds me of this story I heard. I think it's by David Foster Wallace, but it's the story of 2 fish who are swimming along, and they encounter an older fish who says, "Morning, boys. How's the water?" And the 2 fish just kept on swimming past, and then a moment later, one of the fish looks at the other and is like, "What the hell is water?" And it's just such a good metaphor for making products and like accepting the annoyances and problems. And I find myself thinking about that story a lot, where it's like your goal is to really uncover what people's assumptions are and like what things they have just accepted as fact, and they've just built their mental model around it. It's a really weird and fun kind of problem that I dig it.
Hey, that's why you're here, man. We know you dig those problems. You are the voice of design that gets disregarded in the agile space. And I got to put that out there, okay? Because design is such an important aspect of a product, because you may have this wicked great business model and this great target customer persona, and you got your target problem, you got the whole works. You got your hypothesis, you know what your next 4 experiments are going to be. Are they going to use it? Really? Yeah. Like, you have this whole plan, and as soon as they open the application, and I gotta acknowledge that when you open a new product, you're gonna get emotional, okay? And I'm not trying to start a soapbox, but when you open an application and you see all of this distraction that's going on, like, I'm talking about a cluttered application. I'm looking right at you, MC, so this might be burning some sort of seed in your head. So I'm opening this application, and all I want to do is to just open an email, and there's so much going on right now. And I'm not saying I'm referring to Microsoft Outlook, but I'm just saying any kind of email presence, there's so many buttons. You just want to open an email and just send it. So that emotion of anxiety and not feeling confident in that product, that plays well into design.
God, I thought you were talking about Word, because that's the exact thing I have when that app opens. I'm like, oh my god, why?
Or even like, and I harp on Word all the time, but God, you're in Word and you see that massive like back arrow in the top left corner, and you click it expecting to go back, and it opens a pane where there's like other saving options and opening other documents, and I'm like, arrow pointing left means back in every application in the world. Nowhere is it a hamburger menu. Is it like the 3 vertical dot menu, which I don't even know if that has a name, but it doesn't mean back.
Okay, we got to reach out to their design strategists. They failed.
So this is definitely like the customer.
Yes. Okay, so imagine for a moment that Microsoft Word was doing their own smoke test, right? They got like this web page, like, hey, we're about to build this really cool tool where you can create documentation and have all these features. Are you all interested? And the way they showcase it, are you going to give your email address showing that you're interested because there's over 15 buttons to click save? Nah. Like, you're just gonna like keep on going your day, because user-centric design, like, make it usable for your customer. Like, I know you have great ideas, but if the design doesn't make a compelling story or create a compelling emotion from the user, are you really selling it to them? Because I'm gonna talk about a brand that everybody has a controversy about. I'm gonna talk about Apple, and I'm a biased Apple follower. Okay, like, my first iPhone was the iPhone 3G, and my emotions that have grown with the iPhone has this trajectory that you all won't even understand. Like, I have a sentimental emotion when I open the iPhone from the box, and like the little Apple icon comes, and then it guides me through the installation process. That is a moment of relationship building right there with my iPhone. Okay, so user-centered design right there. What do you think, MC? Because you're just rolling your eyes so hard right now. Let's hear your side.
Let's go, dude. Let's go.
Let's do this.
So, Tabby, you don't know this. Josh and I have had many a debates about this, and I may or may not have got him to admit that the phone on all Google Pixels the camera is better than the camera on all iPhones.
Okay, so, camera. That's a different beast. Let's keep it about iPhones. Like, just the phone.
But I mean, what do you use the phone for? What are the three most common things you do on a cell phone, right? You text, you make a phone call, and you take pictures.
Mm-hmm. It's memes first.
It's memes. It's GIFs.
Let's get our priorities straight, please, and thank you. Then you text them.
Yes.
To someone else.
Yes, but you never call unless you're a monster. Like,
that's true.
Oh, like when you called me a week ago with a joke?
Okay, we're digressing now. Let's not get into that drama aspect. Maybe after this episode. Okay, so
okay.
I'm gonna bring back. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to bring up a point though, Tabby. So we talk about the phones and things like that. For me, it's interesting, right? I feel like there's one customer that's not me that is like, I just want to open my phone, transfer my stuff to it, and go about my day, right? And I feel as if that is most Apple users, right? I'm gonna plug my phone in and just go. But I think for me, it's like I like to customize and do all the extra things with my phone, and you can't really do that on an iPhone, right? And I think that's where, like, I could use an iPhone just fine. I use my iPad. I use my MacBook Pro. I will never, ever,
you got Apple products,
ever.
And you got an Android phone. You have no loyalty.
I use Google Chrome as my bridge.
Oh, okay.
That's my bridge between all devices. Yeah,
Okay, you sound like a character from Thor. That is your bridge between the realms. Got it.
Yeah, but I think it's just it's weird, right? They have this understand. I feel that like the Google folks, they have this understanding of what their users are going for, and they're going for simplicity. Because when I get on the Pixel, it's not what like a Samsung Galaxy user gets. It is a night and day difference in experience because Samsung bloats it and then the carriers bloat it. I get a Google phone that's made by Google with a Mandalorian background, and
this is the way.
It's made by Google. It is the way. And that's what they say. They say, you want pure, unadulterated Google? This is the way. Go to Pixel. But you're getting
right now.
Brought to you by Google.
Thank you, Josh, for that commentary.
But they get their customers. They understand their customer. They've designed it in such a way that they understand this is the experience our customer wants, right? The simplicity to do whatever the hell they want to do. And they've built it that way for you.
It's almost like there are different kinds of people who use phones, and they have different values.
It's mind-blowing. My God. So we are not like binary carbon copies of each other from the Matrix. All right? We're people. So, like, I think of that and, okay. So imagine yourself going into a Verizon store, and you're about to get a new phone. But for me, I already know I'm gonna get the new iPhone. Like, I just know it. But I'm like humoring myself by checking out what do all the other phones do. Let me like critique those. So I go into the Verizon store. And I play with all the other phones, and like I think of COVID, I'm like, man, how many germs are on each phone? How many people are touching these phones? But you just don't know. But I digress. So I look at the other phones, and some of them do have like a compelling like design. They do, because you can easily open them. There's no like really long onboarding session, unlike the Samsung Note 4 in 2014. Okay, so that phone. Okay, so when I got that phone, I had that phone for 2 days. 2 days. Okay, and this phone is huge. It wouldn't even fit in my hand. It was not meant for tabby hands. I dropped it so many times, I couldn't figure out the pen, and turns out it was gonna explode in a couple of days. So before that explosion actually happened, I gave it back. I'm like, just give me back my damn iPhone. Like, this is a waste of my money. I was not a customer of that phone because I was so royally lost opening that phone and just trying to open my camera and just trying to open my, like, just a phone call. Like, I don't know what direction of swiping, but like on an Apple iPhone, you just press and it just opens. Okay, there's no swiping involved, you Androiders. So, I digress. But you think about that, the customer versus the end user. Like, you have end users who go into Verizon stores, they play with all the phones, but you have the customer who's actually going to buy the phone that's meant for you, with the persona that you identify with.
My favorite thing about this so far is that MC is just like stewing over in the background.
Yes.
Just like, my God, they're talking about swiping again.
He can't win this battle. Like, he just can't. Like, he is outnumbered.
So here's the funny thing. Like, at this point in time, in 2021, I had to double check. Like, there's not that much difference between the iPhone and the Android at this point in time. 5 years ago, let's have a fight, like a fist fight in the street.
Let's fight.
There's some differences, and I can tell you one's better than the other. It's about the same by now. But that just speaks to, Google and Apple have taken the time to learn the users and learn, like, what are the right, like, just ergonomics, right? I don't know, has iPhone moved the fingerprint sensor to the back yet? Or is it still, like, in the front home button at the bottom?
Dude, it is Face ID for the win.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, you
Let me
got
go find
no
you a
fingers.
mannequin. Let me go find you a mannequin.
How about my hand gets chopped off? Okay, I'm on a bus and my hand gets stuck in the door. I have no hand. Guess what?
Fair enough.
I have
Fair
my
enough.
face.
Fair enough.
What if my face gets sanded off?
Fair, but
You're pretty much out of luck with your phone.
My point here is there isn't innovations anymore in phone designs. We're finding more ways to make things more efficient. So I bring up the fingerprint because when you hold your phone, this is the natural way to hold your phone with your index finger as support. So there's the fingerprint scanner right there. It's that simple motion as opposed to moving your thumb all the way down, right? It doesn't work like that. And that's the point, right? These phones are about the same. They've taken the time to figure out the ergonomics, to figure out the users. How are people doing this? Do they want to hold their phone up and do the weird motion? Because you can see it on any public space you go to who's using Face ID because they're like going like this, trying to get it's the same as like watching someone walk around playing Pokemon. You know what that look when they're doing this flick thing. You know when someone's playing Pokemon, and you know when someone's over there struggling to like get their phone unlocked. It's hilarious.
Okay, you're gonna have to do that once more after this episode.
But I bring all that up. It's really interesting how the designers on two competing companies, right, with two fan bases that are and customer bases, because I think those are two different things for both companies. There's not much difference between them anymore, right? Tabby, you talk about swiping, and I'm like, there's no buttons on Androids anymore. It has been for a couple of years. People don't even realize it anymore. It's just like an iPhone, where you have a couple different swipe gestures to get through things, and they're finding these are the right ways to do it. And I think we're going to go to a point in time, 10, 20 years down the road, where maybe there's just one phone company, because it's the same thing over and over, right? Or at least provider, manufacturer.
And you think about that, and the persona for each brand is going to be different. But they're not just thinking about the masses either. They're thinking about specific customers. And that's why I try to emphasize the differences between them, like the end user versus the customer versus the buyer versus the consumer. And they all play different roles in your product. And knowing that from the beginning will build you for success because you've already dominated that product market fit. And if we transition out of phones, think about the first time you saw the Netflix website. I actually did not like it. I thought it was very granular. I thought it looked I thought it looked really cheap. Like, it was cheaply produced, and I'm like, I don't know if I trust this website. And
what year were you talking about with the Netflix site?
Like, I remember being in college, like in 2007, 2008, and like Netflix like first built their website, and like, hey, we're about to like start having you rent DVDs, forget Blockbuster and all that crap. And I saw their website, and I think all you had to do was just give them your name and email address. But this is from memory. But what I remember feeling from seeing that site was that it wasn't well formed yet, but it gave you like basic areas to put in your information because they were doing a smoke test. They were trying to see if this would gain popularity. And they had my interest, right? They had my interest because now I can have DVDs mailed to me. I don't have to go to a physical store. I just click on something online and I got DVDs coming to me. Awesome. You have a customer. But the site gave me inverse feelings. Like the site itself wasn't as appealing to the user that was coming into it. I mean, I gave my name and email address, but it was a little clunky, and I didn't even actually know if it saved, if it was secure, and all those things are important because a customer may have like your business, but they might change their mind only because of your design. Because we are fickle people. Like, we just are. If something doesn't look great, if our intuition is saying, I don't feel safe in this product, you don't have my business. And how often does that happen too? Like, you look at all these like Instagram, like businesses being opened, and then you immediately look at their site and it's just like, the site looks really, really weird and cheaply done. I don't trust that it's secure. I'm not gonna give it my email address because then I might get hacked. So that's where your mind goes. What do you think, MC? Because you're cracking up.
No, I'm like a little bit of a snob when it comes to these types of
oh yeah, we all are.
situations, because you get to the website and it's like, okay, is this like something that was made in 2020, or is this something that was made in like 2002, you know, Angel Fire, GeoCity?
Times.
Oh yeah, the good times.
Oh yeah. But it immediately brings this, oh, I'm not meant to be here. This was not made for me.
For me, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm above this. Like, this is below me. This website is below me.
That
like,
happened
I've
to
gone
me.
to
I'm sorry.
much nice websites. No. Go ahead, Josh. I'm done.
Oh, I was just going to say that this happened to me just last week as I was booking something for a trip. And apparently Airbnb has launched this new thing where hosts can request security deposits outside of Airbnb. And I was like, what? This sounds really sketchy. And then when I went to the website, it looked like default Bootstrap from like 7 or 8 years ago. It was like, hey, Airbnb, is this legit? Y'all okay with
Is
this?
this for real? Is this a dev site? Like, is this Pride or devs?
Yeah, it's Sandbox. It's like, it's way early.
It's got to be.
Anyway, so they were like, yeah, it's absolutely legit. It's fine. And I was like, ooh, this doesn't look right. I don't want to give you my credit card.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like you don't feel safe. And that's a big part of adoption. When you got innovators,
Yeah.
you got large majority, you got late majority, and you have those different segments of user adoption. But in the first initial, like, let's say milliseconds of opening their application, what do they feel? Do they feel safe that they can easily navigate your product? Or are they overwhelmed by clutter? Are they overwhelmed by confusion of how to navigate? But that brings me to an important question that I want to ask you specifically, Josh. So based on the teams that you worked with, how often have you been either exposed to or told that, oh, the product owner and the developer can design the user experience. We don't need you, Josh. It's fine. How have you responded to questions like that? Or statements?
It's only happened a few times. Most of the time when I got the sense that design wasn't really valued as a separate craft. It was much more subtle and not overt that like they didn't want a designer there.
Yeah.
I've worked in situations where engineers have taken the designs that we've created and even like validated with customers, with our clients, and they just treated them as suggestions. And they ended up like redoing a whole flow without talking to the project person, the designer, the customer, the client.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So yeah, it's much more subtle because I think that we don't really embrace like that healthy kind of conflict, like going back and forth with one another, and we're all trying to follow the script of being like super nice, but at the expense of making really good products. But I've been really lucky most times where folks want design there. There are basically two levels that I see to that. Like, one is someone told me I need design here, so we've got design. We did the thing, box checked. And then there's the other side who's like, oh, design is here. Amazing. When can we go talk to customers? Like, when can we get some prototypes? This is really cool. Like, help us make a good product. Those are like the best folks to work with.
They are.
Yeah.
They definitely are.
And, I think that part of why this issue even exists is that design as a craft has not fully embraced and learned how to speak the language of the business. Like, design talks a lot about like, we want a seat at the table. Well, of course, but like, you got to know what you're talking about before you sit at the table. And so if you're sitting at this table and you're like, I think the buttons should be blue, they're going to sit you at the kids' table.
With no blue crayons, just
No blue crayons.
Just purely
No
out of
blue crayons
spite.
for you.
But yeah, like I think that this problem exists in like all these conversations around like what's the ROI on design and like how do we prove the value of design? Design needs to understand how to understand the business, and they a lot of times, unfortunately, haven't done that.
Definitely. And you think about that, and how does it really tie into metrics? Because that's definitely how it comes down to like the success of your product, like with adoption and knowing if users are actually using it. But you think about how do we communicate with the users directly, and the users versus the customers, because sometimes we'll do some smoke tests with, let's say, a user group just to see how they respond with the product, and you do that research and that customer obsession of why did they click that button, why did they first go to this page, why are they taking so long to go to this page, like what are those intricacies in that persona? Oh, the user wasn't trained. Okay, well that doesn't really help me much. Like this isn't about training like at all. This is about identifying the psychology of your user, of your customer, and understanding, is this a product that can be easily used? Because if I circle back to the earlier synopsis, I am no longer a mobile human being. I have changed my identity. What I used to be was a human being that walked every day. I am now a human being in a wheelchair. How has my life changed? Are there designs in place for me to still live a happy life? And that's why it comes down to feeling safe. That's why I brought that story. And do our users feel safe in this product?
You know, that's really one of the reasons why I find interviewing and talking to other humans about these products that we build so fascinating. You know, there are a couple of like GIFs and TikToks out there that really like exemplify it. Like there's one where someone has like a glass of water and they end up trying to like drink from the bottom of it. And it's user testing in a nutshell. And it's fantastic. Maybe we can put these links in the show notes. But that's like why talking to users is so fascinating, because like you really get to like play therapist, and you're like, what made you do that? What's behind that? How did you get here? And you obviously don't want to lead them, but you do want to gently like poke and go a little deeper to try and like understand the rationale behind something. And you know, that's my favorite part of this research part of design. Like you just get to talk and listen.
Exactly.
And you said something earlier about metrics, which I wanted to touch on. You know, obviously you can't measure, you can't really like succeed unless you like really start to measure things. But I feel like we tend to go a little overboard and like almost to the point of putting on blinders, like you'd put on like a horse and buggy situation. And, you know, we're so focused on this goal, like, oh, we want like a 20% lift in subscribers, or like, you know, we want to reduce time to customer support calls. But I think that design could be the most effective, and product teams could be the most effective if they just like sit with the problem and suspend their judgments and just treat it like they would something unknown and curious. Because you're much more likely to be able to, if you don't have those blinders on, see lots of disparate things that you can start to connect. And like that's like where the magic of like making a product and like understanding what things come from talking to users can all come together. And then you've got like this really great product that, yes, it meets these metrics, but also we realized that there's something even better than this metric.
Right. And
exactly,
you have to sustain that objectivity. Go ahead, MC.
Exactly. I was going to bring up the objectivity part, but I was also going to say, you know, we hear the cliche statement of, you know, fall in love with the problem, don't fall in love with the solution. And that's what's at odds here, right? You have Mr. Business Executive who wants to increase subscribers by 20%, and that's the goal. And there's many ways you can do that very, very suspiciously. I think we've seen some stuff in the news lately about some politicians in the last few years that the goal is to raise more campaign funds. So they put a box at the bottom of the screen that's automatically checked for you that tells you that it's a recurring donation, right? And unfortunately, UX and UI websites have trained us, because no one reads the terms and conditions. When there's a checkbox at the bottom next to submit, you just check it and keep on rolling. So it's funny. It's you can go about it doing it kind of the negative way, or you can kind of fall in love with the problem and just say, well, what do you hate about this, or why did you do that, or you know, why did you go over here instead of over there? And you fall in love with how is the user using the product and what's the problem that's there. And you know, it's not necessarily catching lightning in a bottle. It's kind of discovering the intent behind the user, and then you build your features around that. And you're more, when you do that, you're more likely to have that sustainable product long term than, well, yeah, we increased subscribers 20% because that was the goal. Well, come back and tell me your goal, 12 months from now when those subscribers aren't happy. Are you trying to increase them again, or are you trying to get more from your existing subscribers, right? You talk about like the business model of it, and how does the design element play into that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, this really brings to mind something interesting. Oh my God, I literally just forgot what I was going to say.
Oh no, we can't have that. Not on this podcast.
Oh no.
Oh man.
It's because you're having way too much fun with us.
I know, yeah. I was just like really getting into it. And I was like, oh, MC said something, and I wanted to go back to it. Can you run me back to what you were saying just for a second?
Falling in love with the problem as opposed to coming in with a proposed solution.
Okay. Hey, there you go.
Okay, thank you for that.
And we're back.
Yeah, welcome back, listeners. I really tend to think about this like woodworking. Like you've got this piece of wood and you want to form it into something. Yes, you can just like put it on a machine and you can just like make some straight cuts and boom, you've got a table. But if you really want a good table, you'll sit down, you'll look at the wood, you understand like where the knots are, what the grain looks like, what the shape of it is. And then you can start to craft that table. Like you're still meeting your goal of getting a table, but like the wood is going to tell you what it wants to be. And products and problems are very much the same thing. Like they need to be understood rather than just managed by like, hey, we want 20% more. It's like, yeah, absolutely. We absolutely want that. But we want to do it in the right way. We don't want to do dark patterns. We don't want to auto-check things that take money from you every month.
In fine print. Like really tiny.
Oh, yeah. It's like back in the day, we would have like these pop-up ads and like the little X would be like so tiny.
So tiny. They did that on purpose. It pisses me off. Like, why can't I click on the X? You're trying to click, like, I do not want to see this ad.
I got into an argument with a CEO about that once.
Really?
Yeah, because, back in 2010 when, you could make money off of doing stuff with Flash, I worked at an agency and the CEO was like, we got to make that close button smaller. Got to make it harder to click on. I was like, dude, no, that is not what we're going to do.
Speak for the people.
That's right.
Fight the power.
You got to fight the power. Anyway, I lost that battle, but I still went for it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. And that's a great example of when business stakeholders are trying to speak for the users. And I hate that so much because they are not the people using it. And that really influences obviously the customers of the application because their boss is telling them, hey, we need to promote this particular feature. You need to showcase how it's a problem right now. They are influencing their behavior in an application to motivate a feature that was politically decided in a different group. And when you think about that, that's a very sensitive topic because you don't want to influence the user, right? You want to ask them questions and not ask it in a way that they're going to give you an answer they think you want. Right, you just want an objective answer, and that brings the compelling part of
It's the discovery. It's discover what the problem is, and then go solve it. And it's nice. I know a lot of organizations are doing this now, where we know we have a problem to solve. We don't know how we're going to solve it. We have an idea of what direction to go. So we're going to get a bunch of people, and we're going to have a discovery phase. That's 2 to 4 weeks long, and we're going to figure out all the problems in the world, and then we're going to know exactly what to do for the next year and fix the world. And it's funny because it feels almost like they're stepping into that with the right intentions, right? Of we know walking in with a solution's a problem, so let's walk in and figure out what the solution is. But you got 2 weeks to do it. Go. It's halfway there.
That's cute.
So discovery doesn't stop. Okay, I can't say that enough.
Right.
Discovery is a way of life, people. Discovery is continuous. Like if you were to tell someone like, hey, your life is filled with problems, let's just list them all right now so we can solve them so you can have a perfect life. You think you're not going to have more problems? You don't think you're going to have more issues that are more relevant to the period of the identity that you are at that time? Customers change. Personas change. problems change. And your ability to discover them and to acknowledge them and to ask those right questions to your customers makes you a better design person. And I'll be honest with you, Josh, I am not a design expert. I am at the mercy of all the knowledge you wonderful, wonderful people have about user experience and user design. And I learn something new every time I have a conversation with you all. So mad kudos, I am a big fan.
Thanks. I'm a really big fan of just hanging out with people who practice other crafts. When I work on products, like we've got the product people sitting right next to the designers, sitting right next to the engineers, and we're all talking back and forth.
Yeah.
An engineer can be like, "Oh, hey, I see we're trying to like work on this flow. I just used this cool little library, which can save us a lot of calls and still get you to where you want to go." And it's just such a cool little thing where we just get to like draft off of one another. I guess the buzzword is synergy, but
synergy, yes.
Wasn't there, Josh? Oh man, when we worked together many years ago, didn't somebody share a link to an app that like it was a browser extension, and anytime it found any like business buzzword like synergy, it would replace it with something like ridiculous, like kerfuffle?
I sent that to you.
Oh my god. Okay, before we get into kerfuffle, let's wrap this up, people, because this was a fantastic episode. Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does.
Oh yeah.
I got one more question for you both. So what is a product right now that's very fresh in your mind that needs a serious redesign, that is not user-friendly? So I will tell you mine. Timesheets. Why the hell is Timesheets so damn hard right now? Like, it is 2021. We still can't figure out how to redesign that crap. So that is my like detriment. Like, why can't we figure out a redesign for Timesheets?
I worked at a place once where it actually took us an hour to enter our time for the week. And it's like
on average.
This thing, like the site was probably hosted on some dude's like old Mac Mini in his like mom's basement or something. And like it's 2021, they're still bad.
They're still bad. Why? Like, why isn't it redesigned yet? I don't understand. MC, you're laughing, but you need to come up with an answer too.
I'm thinking here. You brought up timesheets, and my mind immediately went to, well, we don't need to redesign the timesheet. We just need to make it more efficient, right? So like one of the solutions that I use right now, I just go back to the previous week. I hit an arrow. I hit copy week. I go forward. Arrow goes forward. Back, arrow goes back. Remember? I hit the forward arrow. I hit another drop down, and then I hit paste, and then I hit submit. It takes me 30 seconds.
I do too, but it's still bad. I need to redesign.
It is like, bad. But so I can't think of a product off the top of my head right now, but I think though the counterpoint I would make to that though is sometimes things don't need to be redesigned because it kind of is what it is, right? Like tables, like using tables on a report, right? It's like the most basic way to do it. But my God, if I'm looking at some type of a financial report, give me a better design than a table that is easier to understand, right? There's plenty of things that look nicer, but, bar charts and line charts, and all that, it brings these other elements in that make it harder to use and understand. And it's like, you know what? Just give me the damn numbers and I'll make my conclusions from there. So I think like I would challenge you, Tabby, and say maybe timesheets don't need to be redesigned. Maybe we just need better efficiencies. Could I set my defaults up and I just hit approve and it just brings it in right away? Because it might be the most efficient it can be because it's the ugliest product ever.
It's the ugliest thing ever. I get angry when I look at timesheets. Okay, I have emotion bias towards timesheets. It is ugly. Okay, I have so many beautiful products in my life, and the detriment to my life is that ugly timesheet. So I will bring my my user bias into it, but it is possible. We could just be more efficient with it.
Well, matter of fact, I do have one, and I brought it up earlier. Delivering pizzas, like.
Bringing it all back. Bringing it home.
Bring it all back.
But for real though, like I remember I was a kid and my dad brought home pizzas once, and he had like his own pizza bag that he would like go pick up the pizzas and bring it home. It's the same style pizza bag. There's no difference, and it's been 25 years since I saw that. How have we not changed that? How have pizza can they get better? Because I know I get 2 pizzas, 1 or 2 sides, and next thing I know I come in and like the top of it's like concave down. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way to design like the pizza box to not let my pizza get squished.
It's the weight of the sadness of someone who has chosen to have pineapple on their pizza. That's
okay, I digress. All right, here we go. I love pineapple pizza. We're cutting it off right there. All right, so on that note, I do want to thank you, Josh, for joining us in today's episode episode, the customer UX edition.
Yeah. I'm so glad I was able to be here. Let's do it again sometime.
Oh yeah, you're definitely coming back.
You'll be
Guys,
back.
we have a season finale, people, that's coming soon. So we'll stay tuned for that big mashup. But all you listeners out there, thanks for joining us in today's episode. Next episode is coming back real soon. Agile Disrupted.